Welcome to the RC Community Sticker Project, brought to you by Fast Freddy RC. In today's video, we're doing a shout-out to Right Place RC. Great guy, cool track, crazy test runs.
So for step 5, the right side of the chassis, well, we're going to place all of the gears that we finished putting ball bearings into in the previous step into the chassis. Now you can see that there are these gears that go in first, and then we move on to the next part of the step where there are gears that then get placed after those have been installed. So we put the first 4 in, and then we put the rest of the gears in place after that. And you can see that we've got these bars, and I thought these were the same too, but they're actually pipes, not a solid bar, whereas these ones were solid bars. So that's interesting. So we've got to do all of that, and the other thing is we're going to be greasing up all of the gears. Now, as I mentioned in the other step, no, I did not put the grease in the outer part of the ball bearing. I don't typically, but because these gears are fully enclosed inside this massive gearbox, I am going to grease up the pipes and the metal bars going into the inside of the bearings just for a little bit of less friction. And then obviously we have to grease up the gears all together. So I'll set this up and let's put this all in. All right, so we're gonna grab the chassis part that we put in the differential gears in step 3, and we're going to start placing all of this. Now, the one thing to make note of, you'll notice here, you might think, well, wait a minute, how do I know which one was the pipe, which one is the shaft? Well, there is a difference in the way they do the diagram, because like the actual shafts, the ones that are enclosed, there is only like a little rib around the outside to make it look like there's the edge, whereas the pipe ones have basically a double line all the way around the hole, making it so that you understand that these are open. So that would be the way to kind of tell the difference. But in this particular case, on this side, you can see that those two are obviously the longer shafts, and then we have the 2 smaller ones on the inside, which will be for the pipes. So what we will do is we are going to start placing these. So if we take this one, we can see that this gear here is this one here, in terms of how that's going to look. And we know that that's going to slide through here. Now here, of course, another interesting thing is, if you look at our grease, I'm certainly hoping that there is enough grease that this is all going to work. Because as much as they gave you a nice big tube, maybe for something like this, it's not big enough, but we'll see. So first of all, I am going to grease up the shaft itself. Part of it anyway, and you can see that that shaft is going to go inside of there all the way through to the other side of the bearing. And according to this, you can see that the kit right now, we're going to stick that one right in that slot right there. So that is going to sit like that. So there's one of our gears right now. Then we've got the little counter gears. So these are the ones that would have been the metal bushings, but we've got the full ball bearings. Same thing, but now we've got the pipe. So we're gonna put a little bit of grease on the pipe. And we're gonna slide that through the ball bearing, and you can see that it's going to sit on that one side. So we're going to grab this, and we're going to stick that pipe right there into there. So that's how that one looks. So now let's grab the other counter gear. Give this piping a little bit of grease. We're going to slide that through. There, slide that through, and we're going to fit that. I'm just going to give a little bit of grease on this side just because it's going to sit in the plastic. And sit that right like that. So now we have both of the counter gears in place. So again, now we're going back to this one. So this one here was another counter gear. We're going to, bearing wants to, some of the bearings are loose, so they don't necessarily stay in, but that's okay. In this case, we're going to be grabbing the bar or the shaft, the solid one. Again, we're just going to grease this up a little bit. Might use a little less grease just because. We'll see how this goes. And we're going to grab our counter gear, slide that through, put the bearing back in on the other side because it seems to want to pop out. There we go. And we're going to put that one in the other side right here. In fact, again, I'm just going to put a little bit there because that's where it's going to be sitting into the plastic. So you can see here, we're going to slide that right there. And now we've got the 4 in. So we've got the 2 smaller counter gears and the other counter gears. So those 4 are in. So this part of the step is complete. So now we're going to move on to the other part, because obviously there's other gears that now fit in with everything else. Now, you may have noticed, I haven't greased everything yet. I still need to be able to grease the inner gears right here and the gear on this side as well. Now, depending how this is going to go, I'm going to try and do my method as I like to do, where I grease everything up after the fact, but let's just see how this works. If I was to grab one of our, what do they call these ones? The large counter gears. You can see that it's now going to sit down in this hole right here. So we've got the longer shaft. So again, I'm going to grease this up just a bit here. And that's going to slide right through there to the other end. I'm going to give this a little bit of grease as well. And we're going to grab the side of the chassis, and that is now going to sit down there inside. So you see how that's sitting now. It's still moving everything. It's running this gear, and the one in down below is running this gear. So I think at this point, I'm actually going to put some grease on the base of this one so that I can get my hands in there. So as we continue, we've got now 2 idler gears that we need to work with. So again, I'm just going to give this a little grease. We're going to slide this through. In fact, I might just give a little bit of grease around the edges because that's going into the edge of the chassis. We're going to grab our chassis and we're going to slide this one into this hole. So you can see how that gear is now going to sit in there. And again, same thing. We've got to grab another one of these, grab another one of the pipes. I'm just going to grease this up just a touch. And we're going to slide the pipe through. Again, I'm just going to do a little bit of touch because that's going into the plastic. Might as well lube it up just a touch. And same thing. Now we have to get that gear into this spot right here. And so now you can see how all of those are going to be moving. It's amazing just how gear intensive this whole setup is. Okay, so now that we've put those two in, let's work on putting the two on the other side. Okay, so again, we're going to work on this one, which was the large counter gear. We're going to grab some grease to put onto the shaft. A little bit at the end. Going to slide that through the gear. And I'm going to put a little bit more just on this side, just because that's going in, sitting in the plastic. Okay, and again, just like the other side, this one is now going to sit up here. You'll notice there's a difference. It sits on the upper one. So that's going to sit like that. There. So you see how that's set up. This side it was down, this side it sits up. Very cool. And again, so we're now going to put in these idler gears. So same idea, we're going to grab one of the pipes. We're going to put a little bit of grease on this. We're going to slide that through. And this is going to sit right there, right in place. And again, we've got another idler gear, so we're going to have to grab the pipe again. And we're going to slide that through. And again, just because that's going into the plastic, I am going to grease that up just a touch more. And we're going to slide that in all the way down so that that is now in place. So you can see that in terms of the way this is going to work, the motor is sitting here. So when it's spinning with the pinion gear, it's running these gears one way and it's running these gears the other way, because you can see if they were both running in the same direction, right? So if that was going, let's just say that's forward. This one's got to go forward. It's really incredible. Okay, so now that they're in place, we got to grease all these gears up. And I mean, I do like to wait until I've got everything kind of connected before I start putting grease on them. So first of all, let's put grease down at the back there. Let's see if you can see this. I hope. So first start spinning these gears through. I can see that. So we'd already greased up this side. If you remember, or maybe I can try and change the... Oh, let's try... Here. You can see already that in terms of the grease, we're able to put more on here, more on there, more there, more there, more there, more there, more there. But I like doing it this way because when you're spinning the gears around, it's actually greasing up everything else. And you can see a lot of the gears are already getting quite a bit of the grease on just from doing this way. So if I kind of spin these around, we can be greasing them up as we go. I like working with the gears, that's for sure. It really is incredible how all of these gears. So I'm going to now put some more down there. And on this side, I notice that in order to get to that, I need to put some grease down there. Of course, now I'm getting all slick with all the grease on me. Okay, so after cleaning myself off a little bit and getting the grease down there on the gears that are down near the bottom, this is now fully greased up, and we've got all of our moving parts. Everything will start to come together properly once the other half of the chassis is in place. But I mean, you can see that if both wheels were moving in the direction I'm spinning the wheel right now, you can see how those gears are running, and they're running more or less all in the same direction. And then if we were doing it the other way, it would be the same thing, but in reverse. Now again, they're not really, they're binding a little bit because it needs the other half for this to work. But technically we have all of the gears in place. They have all been fully greased. And, you know, I always say I like to be liberal, but not too liberal. Well, that's what we've got left with the grease. So I may have overdone it, but, you know, here's the thing. This gear casing, the last thing you want is to have to rebuild this. So I've put in as much as I think is necessary, and it doesn't actually look like there's tons of grease in there. I mean, they're well lubed, but I wouldn't say it's too much. I wouldn't say it's too little. So I'm good with that, but it does mean that if the kit needs more grease later on, which I'm sure it will when we're putting in the drive cups, etc., I'm going to have to go into my reserves and grab another tube. So I would say that thank you, Tamiya, for that tube of grease. It was a much bigger one than usual, but then again, you have so many gears in this kit that I don't think it was enough grease at all. So suggestion for you all, definitely either be a little less liberal with the grease or know that you probably should buy some more. And I would lean on the idea of buying some more, because I think with something with such a big gearbox, you should try and grease this up as much as you possibly can. So anyways, that is it for step 5. So we are going to move to step 6, which is putting a couple more bearings into the other half of the chassis.